This is Mr. Creepy Official. True horror begins, now. It was supposed to be the perfect getaway, a weekend in a secluded mountain cabin my girlfriend and I found online. No neighbors, no traffic, just peace and quiet. The owner was an older man who met us in town to hand over the keys. Before he left, he gave us a short list of rules: no smoking inside, lock the door when you leave, and one that made us laugh at first. After midnight, don't look at the windows. We figured it was just a weird local superstition. The first night, we cooked dinner, played cards, and listened to the wind in the trees. Around midnight, a faint tapping started somewhere in the cabin. At first we thought it was a branch against the roof. But the sound was too regular: 3 slow taps, a pause, then 3 more. It was coming from the living room. From the window. My girlfriend started toward it, curious, but I stopped her, remembering the old man's words. I told her it was probably nothing, but when I glanced at the glass, I thought I saw a shadow move across it. From the inside, the tapping stopped the moment I looked at the glass. The cabin went dead quiet, the kind of silence where your own heartbeat sounds too loud. My girlfriend whispered, "Did you see that?" But I shook my head. I didn't want to spook her more than she already was. We went back to our card game, but a few minutes later, the sound returned. Louder this time. Tap, tap, tap. And under it, so faint I thought I was imagining it, breathing. Slow and steady, right on the other side of the glass. I grabbed the flashlight and shined it at the window. The beam hit nothing but glare from the reflection of the room. No branches, no raccoon, nothing. The breathing stopped. We were just about to head to bed when I heard something new, a faint scrape, like fingernails dragging across the glass. My girlfriend's hand clamped on my arm. "Something's out there," she whispered. But then, the scrape came from the window behind us. We froze. The tapping had been at the front window, but now the sound was at the back of the cabin. I turned slowly, flashlight in hand. The curtains were drawn, but the fabric shifted slightly, like something was brushing against it from outside. My girlfriend whispered, "Don't," but my curiosity overpowered the warning. I stepped forward, reached for the edge of the curtain, and pulled it back just enough to peek. What I saw made my stomach flip. It was me. My own face, pale in the moonlight, staring in through the glass. Same clothes, same hair, same flashlight in hand, but the eyes were wrong. Too wide. Unblinking. And the mouth hung slightly open, like it was about to speak. I stumbled back, dropping the curtain. My girlfriend's face went white. "What did you see?" Before I could answer, the tapping started again, this time from every window at once that I woke up to the sound of scratching. Not outside anymore, inside. The noise came from the wall behind my bed, a slow, deliberate drag of nails on wood. My throat was dry, my body heavy, but I forced myself up. The window was still covered by the blanket I'd nailed into the frame, but the nails were bent now, curling outward like something had tried to push them from the other side. Then came the voice. It wasn't calling my name this time. It was whispering things I'd never told anyone, private things. My fears. My regrets. The night I found my brother in the garage. The fact that I never called for help. I grabbed my phone, ready to call the police, when I saw the reflection on my screen. It was me, standing by the window. Smiling. My phone fell from my hand. I turned around. The blanket was gone, the glass clear, moonlight pouring in. And there I was, staring back, except the other me's mouth was open far too wide, eyes black, fingers tapping on the glass. It mouthed 2 words. "Let me." The scratching stopped. The lights flickered. And the glass began to crack. If you've never been to the deep south or the Appalachian edge in summer, you might not know about kudzu. It's a vine that grows so fast it can swallow entire houses in green within a season. There's a stretch of old highway outside Asheville where kudzu has claimed everything: fences, telephone poles, even abandoned cars. I was hiking that area last July, taking photos for a nature blog. The heat was oppressive, the air heavy with the smell of soil and rot. The road had been closed for decades, and the silence was thick: no cars, no wind, not even birds. Just the occasional rustle from deep inside the vines. I was halfway through the overgrown stretch when I heard it. Breathing. Not my own, this was deeper, slower, like someone sleeping under the vines. I thought maybe it was a deer or a stray dog tangled up in there. I got closer, pushing the leaves aside. The kudzu felt damp, almost warm. That's when I saw it. An eye. Perfectly human, staring back at me from inside the tangle. For a second, I couldn't breathe. The eye didn't blink, it just stared at me, wide and unbroken, like it had been waiting. The vines around it shifted slightly, not from wind but like something underneath was breathing. Leaves trembled, then stilled again. I took a step back, but the kudzu seemed to swell forward, closing the gap I just made. My brain kept trying to explain it: an animal, a trick of the light, anything but what it looked like. I crouched down and peeled back another layer of vines. That's when I saw more than just the eye. A cheek. A jaw. Pale skin half covered in dirt. And around the neck, vines twisted so tight it was hard to tell where skin ended and plant began. I whispered, "Are you okay?" My voice cracked. The mouth opened, slow and dry, like it hadn't moved in years. But instead of words, a wet choking sound came out, followed by a long exhale that smelled like rot. The vines around my feet tightened. I hadn't noticed them creeping toward me until I tried to step back, and couldn't. I yanked my leg free so hard I nearly fell backward, then sprinted down the cracked pavement until the wall of green was behind me. I didn't look back, not once. By the time I made it to my campsite, the sun was sinking and the air had that sticky stillness before night. I told myself I'd imagined it, that maybe it was just a trick of shadows and exhaustion. But around 2 a.m., I woke to the sound of leaves rustling. Not a soft breeze, this was steady, deliberate, like something moving through them. I sat up in my tent, listening. The sound was getting closer, low to the ground, dragging itself along the dirt. My flashlight beam caught the edge of the tree line. At first, it looked like the vines were swaying on their own. Then I realized they weren't swaying, they were crawling. Something was inside them. It moved into the clearing, just at the edge of my light. A shape, human-sized but hunched, arms pinned by green ropes of vine. I saw the face then, pale and slack, lips moving silently. The same one from earlier. The vines twitched, and the figure shuddered forward, dragging itself toward my tent that I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I just sat there, clutching my flashlight, watching that shape at the edge of the clearing. Every few minutes, the vines would tighten around it, pulling it an inch closer. At some point, maybe around dawn, I must have blacked out from exhaustion. When I woke, the tent was filled with warm light and birdsong. For a second, I thought it had been a nightmare, until I unzipped the flap. Just beyond the clearing, where the figure had been, there was something swaying gently in the breeze. It was a bundle of kudzu vines, twisted and knotted tight. But the shape they made wasn't random. It was the exact size and outline of a human body. The head was tilted, just like I'd seen the night before. And from somewhere deep inside the bundle, I swear I heard the slow, steady sound of breathing. When I was 16, my parents sent me to spend the summer with my grandparents in a little Appalachian town called Miller's Gap. The kind of place where everybody knows everybody, and nothing ever happens. At least, that's what I thought. Their house sat at the base of a steep hill, and at the top was an old, abandoned church. It was small, built from weathered gray wood, with a crooked steeple and boarded-up windows. I noticed it my first day there and asked my grandma about it. She got this look. Tight-lipped, eyes darting toward the hill. "Don't go up there," she said flatly. "Especially not behind it." I thought she meant it was unsafe, but when I asked why, she just shook her head. My grandpa added, "That well back there, it isn't for water." For the first week, I didn't think much about it. But at night, when the wind was still, I'd hear something faint drifting down the hill. Not animals. Not wind through trees. Singing. It was soft, almost like a lullaby, just one voice, low and steady, carrying in the air. The weirdest part. It always started at exactly midnight. That it bothered me for days, the voice, the way it always started at the exact same time. Nobody in town would talk about the church either. If I brought it up, they'd suddenly remember they had somewhere to be. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. Around 11:50, I slipped out the back door, barefoot on the cool grass, and started up the hill. The singing hadn't started yet, but the higher I climbed, the heavier the air felt. The church was even creepier up close. The wood was soft and splintered, the door chained shut. Weeds grew in thick tangles around the foundation. And just like my grandpa said, behind it was a low, moss-covered stone well. The moment I stepped toward it, the singing began. It was louder now, clearer. A woman's voice, sweet and slow, like she was trying to coax someone closer. I leaned over the rim. The inside was pitch black, no moonlight reaching the bottom. I cupped my hands around my mouth and called, "Hello." The singing stopped instantly. And then, from the darkness, a whisper rose up, not echoing like you'd expect in a well. It whispered my name, my breath caught in my throat. I told myself I'd misheard, that it was just the wind playing tricks on me. But then it said it again, slow, drawn out, like it was savoring each syllable of my name. I stumbled back a step, heart pounding, and my heel hit a rock. I almost turned to run, but curiosity pinned me in place. I pulled my phone from my pocket, switched on the flashlight, and leaned over the rim again. The beam cut through maybe 10 feet of darkness before the light hit something pale. At first I thought it was a trick of the stone walls. But then it moved. It was a face. Only it wasn't looking up at me. It was upside down, pressed against the inside of the well like it was hanging from somewhere above the waterline. Its eyes were wide open, glassy, unblinking, and its mouth was stretched into a grin that looked far too wide to be human. I jerked my phone back, the light shaking wildly. When I looked again, the face was gone. But from deep below, the singing started up again, faster now, almost frantic. And this time, I heard fingernails scraping up the inside of the well. I bolted down the hill so fast I nearly rolled my ankle, the singing chasing me the whole way. It didn't fade with distance, it stayed right in my ears, like it was inside my head. By the time I burst through my grandparents' back door, my chest was on fire. My grandma was standing in the kitchen, pale as the moon. She didn't ask where I'd been, just grabbed my arm and said, "You looked in, didn't you?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat felt tight, my ears ringing. That night, I lay in bed with the covers pulled over my head, every light on. The singing never came back. Until 3 nights later. I was brushing my teeth when I heard it again, soft, slow, rising from somewhere close. The bathroom window was shut, but it sounded like it was coming from right behind me. I turned toward the sink. The drain was trembling, the water in the trap vibrating with each note. And then, from inside the pipes, a voice whispered my name, drawn out, wet, and smiling. I've been driving trucks for over 15 years, but nothing on the road has ever shaken me like what I saw near Coal Hollow, West Virginia. It was late, just after midnight, and I was hauling an empty trailer back toward Charleston. I took a backroad shortcut, Coal Hollow Road, because I'd been down it once before and remembered it cut a good 30 minutes off the drive. But that was in daylight. At night, it was a different world. No streetlights. No houses. Just black walls of pine trees pressing against the road, the air thick with fog that looked like it was crawling. About 20 minutes in, I noticed something strange, footsteps. Not on gravel, not in the distance, these were heavy thuds, perfectly in sync with my truck's speed. I eased off the gas, thinking maybe it was an echo or some weird sound from the trailer, but the steps slowed with me. Then, when I sped up again, so did they. That's when my stomach dropped. Footsteps shouldn't keep pace with a moving semi. I checked my mirrors, nothing but empty road and darkness. But the sound was right beside me now, slapping against the asphalt. It was like someone was running full tilt, inches from my cab. I finally gripped the wheel tighter and glanced toward the passenger side window. There was nothing there, just fog swirling in my headlights. Until something hit the glass. Not a bird. Not a branch. A muddy handprint. It was small, human-shaped, and it was upside down. Alright, here's part 2 of The Thing on Coal Hollow Road. The Thing on Coal Hollow Road, Part 2. I swerved hard enough that the trailer rattled, my headlights swinging across the trees. Nothing. No one. The print was still there, though, fingers long, smearing down toward the door handle, dripping bits of wet dirt. I pulled over, heart pounding so loud it was hard to hear anything else. My boots crunched on the cold pavement as I walked around the cab, scanning the fog. It was dead silent now, except for the faint hiss of my idling engine. No cars. No people. No sound of running. But on the passenger side, the handprint looked fresher. Like it had just been pressed there. And it wasn't alone anymore. 3 more prints trailed along the door in a neat, vertical line, each one smaller than the last, like whatever made them had crawled up my truck. The fog shifted, and I swear I saw movement in the ditch, low to the ground, too fast to be a person. I jumped back into the cab, locked the doors, and slammed it into gear. My headlights caught a glimpse of something just as I pulled away, pale skin, stringy hair, and a mouth open wider than it should have been, like it was screaming silently. The footsteps came back instantly. Only now, they were on both sides of the truck. I was pushing 50 now, but the footsteps didn't fade. They stayed right there, one set pounding the left lane, the other on the shoulder, like 2 people sprinting full speed beside me in total darkness. I wanted to gun it, but the road was winding and slick from the night air. One wrong turn and I'd be in a ravine. That's when something cut me off. About 50 yards ahead, my headlights caught movement, a shadow, tall and thin, running in the middle of the road. It wasn't stumbling or swaying like a person should. It was gliding, legs moving too fast for the rest of its body. I laid on the horn, but it didn't react. Instead, it tilted its head toward me, an unnatural, sharp turn, like it didn't have a neck. My CB radio crackled suddenly, loud enough to make me jump. I hadn't touched it in hours. Through the static, a voice hissed. "Don't stop again." I froze. My radio was on channel 19, the open trucker line. Anyone could talk on it, but this voice, it sounded like it was right beside me, whispering into my ear. I glanced at the seat next to me. There was a fresh, muddy handprint on the inside of the passenger side window that I didn't take my foot off the gas until I saw the faint glow of a gas station sign up ahead. The shadow in the road had vanished, but I didn't slow down. I blew right past the station and into the first motel I saw on the edge of town. It was one of those single-story roadside places. I parked right in front of my room, still shaking, and killed the engine. When I got out, the air was dead still. No footsteps. No fog. Just the chirp of crickets and the hum of the motel sign. I told myself it was over. Inside, I locked the door, shut the curtains, and went straight to the bathroom to splash water on my face. My hands were trembling so bad I nearly dropped the faucet handle. That's when I heard it, 3 slow thuds against the door. I froze, listening. Another 3. Then silence. I crept over and looked through the peephole. No one was there. But when I opened the door, just an inch, my stomach turned to ice. On the white paint of the motel door, smeared in dripping mud, was the same upside-down handprint. And this time, there were 2 more beside it.